Welcome to Three, a show about Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, and part of the Tennis Channel podcast network. I'm Gil Gross with Joel Drucker and Amy Lundy, and we are through to the Roland Garros final. Who is there? Well, it's not the King of Clay, who will not be winning it for a 14th time, because Novak Djokovic, another one of our three, has stopped him in his tracks with the 4-set win in the semifinal. He now has 66% of Nadal's total wins at the French Open. But this one, I would have to say, is the most impressive performance by any of Rafael Nadal's opponents on court Philippe Chatrier of all time. I am willing to make that claim. Joel, would you go there as well with me?
I'll go there with you. I mean, that was amazing. Djokovic himself in his press conference said it was one of the three best matches he'd ever played. Just a spectacular effort, high quality tennis, drama, everything.
People told us that it was too late to do this show when we started it a year ago on the three. They said, it's the end of their careers. Why are you doing it now? It's too late. It's too late. Well, because today, that's why we're doing it. I mean, their level was astoundingly good. And I think that third set might be a contender for the best set ever played in a Grand Slam. It was epic.
The quality, the movement, the versatility, the way the clutch play. I mean, how do we count the ways? I mean, it's just some amazing tennis and how they each, the competition at its best. They kept asking questions of each other and they kept raising the level, and hand it to Novak, of course, most of all. I mean, for coming through that, and we could talk through more parts of the match. So let's dig in.
Yeah, well, I guess let's go back on our themes. You know, we talk about how Djokovic tries to solve the puzzle and what needs to change in this matchup. And the stat that we all identified as the thing that needed to change was 0.0 through 4 shots, where Djokovic just got smoked by Nadal in back-to-back matches on clay. It could go further back than that. But we know it happened twice in a row, and he flipped the script and he got the better of 0.0 through 4 shots. So, you know, how did you see that happen, Amy? The turnaround that Novak needed to make in that dynamic to play the short points better?
Well, it's really interesting when people hear about 0 to 4, they automatically think that means that the person needs to be more aggressive within the first 4 shots, but it can actually mean the opposite, that the person needs to focus, the player needs to focus on not missing, having an ironclad shot tolerance of good quality shots within the first 4 shots. And there was a report that before the match, Novak was working with a lefty server in practice and working on the return +1. So that told me that he was looking to extend rallies and he was playing patterns that would get him through those first 4 shots.
Mm-hmm. So that would be, for example, as Novak did at a key stage in the match, we know where the serve is going in the ad court. The whole planet knows where the serve is going in the ad court from Rafa. Novak's got to have the backhand return, and he's got to drive it down the line, deep and hard to the Nadal backhand. Not easy for anyone, but the shot he needs to do with his two-handed backhand, and then not put himself in the give Rafa forehand spot we talked about in the prior show, where Rafa just loves to move to his left. You're not going there, Rafa. You're going to have to hit a backhand now.
Yep.
And Rafa's ability to hurt you is so less. I also thought from a match flow standpoint, in a certain way, Novak helped win the match in the first set. I mean,
yes.
He goes down 5-0, and I got distracted from him, but I was going to text you guys and say, oh, it's 2020 all over again. Here's Rafa raging 5-0, but not quite. And again, getting those couple of games, 3 games, and now it's a little tight. Not an easy thing. Nadal's got to burn up some more fuel. Novak said he felt after he lost the first set that he was in the match. And he felt the whole time he didn't feel as steamrolled in the first set this time as he did last year. He felt more in it. He felt he was hitting the ball better, moving better. All these things just felt better. And then he lost the first set. But again, the great players, and this is where I so enjoy the 3 out of 5 format, they're not going to panic if they lose the first set. And Novak sure didn't.
Well, he made Nadal hit almost as many backhands for the match that than he hit forehands. So the total count on ground strokes was 236 forehands to 232 backhands for Rafa Nadal. I mean, that is for someone who wants a forehand and is willing to work very, very hard with their feet to get that forehand and has the edge of designing their entire serving game plan around getting that forehand. For a player to make him hit in Novak Djokovic as many backhands essentially than he did forehands is an incredible feat, and I've never seen anyone do it quite that well to Rafa Nadal.
I agree.
Not only that, Gil, but it may have had a deleterious effect on the forehand, because I thought that the forehand, especially toward the latter part of the match, was short. He was spinning it, but he just was not getting the depth. And at the same time, Novak was getting the depth and the angles. And Novak really kicked up his serve, the pace on his serve in the latter stages of the match.
The first serve, certainly.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're right, Amy. I would agree with that, because I think what it's kind of funny. We talk so much about tactics and patterns and go to this one to get to that one. So then it becomes, all right, yeah, this side is weaker. Keep hitting to it. Now, granted, at this level, it takes some really skills to get to it, but it's funny how you hear things about go to the strength to get to the weakness, go wide this way, get it that way, let him have it this way. But no, Novak at certain points was burying cross-court forehand after cross-court forehand. I mean, you tweeted that earlier, Gil, and then I think what happens to a player, first you have to use more energy to hit your weaker shot. And even though Nadal's backhand is darn good, it's not as good as his forehand. It's not generating as much traction. And now I got a chance to hit my good one. Haven't hit as many of them, and maybe you go for a little more. And I think you're right, Amy, that Nadal's forehand, particularly by the fourth set, you could see he was losing some zip and some energy, and there was kind of a sag in it all.
Yeah, and I also thought that Rafa was way too predictable on the placement of his second serve. Tennis Channel showed a graphic, I think it was after the second set or maybe even into the third set. He had not served any to Novak's forehand. Everything had gone either body or backhand. And Novak has a great backhand return.
I saw
He's
that.
A creature of habit. I mean, just
what's his percentage
He's
on
normally better.
Second serves usually? How often does he usually serve second serves to the forehand? I'm not. See, if it's first serves, I get that, but I mean, I know maybe it's not 100, but what's his percentage to use on second serves?
Well, on first serves, I know it's about 70-30, but I'm in your same boat. I actually don't know what it would be on second serves.
I don't either, but I know for a fact that he has mixed it up more. I mean, sometimes you'll notice patterns. I wrote about this once, like when it's a certain score, like, I don't know, 40-15 or 15-40 or 30-all, he'll fall into, because of his creature of habit nature, he'll fall into a placement on that score every single time. But I was just shocked at his second serve placements this time.
I'd like to see sometime. It'd be interesting to see where the second serve, the first serve, yeah, I kind of get the 70-30, 70 to the backhand, 30 to the forehand. The second serve, yeah, you wonder and that just showed you probably how he felt the whole match, that he was there. There's a game, I don't know if you guys have done this game. It's a game called Tug of War, where you're each trying to get, and so the problem I have with that game is it basically treats every point like it's 15-30. It's a good game, but it kind of treats every point like it's a very critical point. So there's no 30 love, there's no 40 love. And per that with Nadal, he seemed to then feel that, because I can't afford to, I got to go every second serve there, instead of trying something just to open the court a little more. Not sure what kind of difference it would have made though.
Right. And let's also, I think it's worth noting, when Nadal goes to the forehand on a second, it's generally forehand body. He's not going to try to paint the tee like on the ad side. Otherwise, like, it's too slow a serve. So it's just going to be a forehand. But I think the serve that he was missing, Amy, and I agree with you that he didn't mix it up enough, was the serve to the forehand body. Any other critiques? I'll give you one other one for Nadal. For me, it was on the other side of the coin on the second serves, because yes, Nadal only won about 40% of his second serve points, and that was because Novak was sitting on the backhand return and finding the Nadal's backhand on the first shot. But on the second serve return, I didn't think Nadal was taking risks and going after it. And Novak's second serve average speed was 82 miles per hour. You can go after that. That's attackable.
Wow.
You just didn't do it.
Yeah, that's interesting. So that maybe spoke to a certain kind of tightness, a certain tentative. I mean, Nadal going after returns. Yeah, he had a few. Remember, God, there's an unbelievable backhand return he hit when Novak was serving and volleying on one point from behind the court in the deuce court. It was just, God. But I think it was about 83 miles an hour. Just incredible shot Nadal hit. But mostly, you're right. Mostly he was just kind of like lofting it deep and looking to get the point. But then Novak took the ball, and Nadal in his press conference spoke about how Novak was hitting the ball early. Play a guy like he hits the ball early. That's impressive.
What about how Novak Djokovic was going to the Nadal backhand? Not just the fact that he was going there, but the way he was able to hit his forehand in a way that broke the sideline and pulled Nadal out wide, make him hit open stance, make him hit off the court where he feels like he might not recover all the way back to the middle, and it's got to be really good, or he's got to put a lot of air under it. I think that was very, very key, because I'm sure there's been a million opponents who have just gone to the backhand and haven't gotten nearly the effectiveness that Djokovic got from going to the backhand, just because of that heavy angled forehand that Djokovic was hitting, which, to be honest with you, that's not a shot that comes to mind when I think Novak Djokovic until this match. And now it'll come to mind.
I mean, but I feel when I think of Novak, I think of angles. I
think more about Nadal when I think angles.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Novak is the guy who is the master of opening up the court and putting you on the run. But I'm not usually a single point kind of person, because I rarely think that a single point means much in a match, especially like this. But I have to say that in that epic third set with the circus shots, and it was like a high wire or a 3-ring circus on every point. Remember the tiebreaker, that incredible point that ends with Rafa at the net, and he missed it.
The forehand volley.
Yes.
Well, see, yeah, this is Novak's up 4-3 in the tiebreak, and it's a great point. And Rafa has a volley. It's so funny. This is the thing. Said this before in tennis. Nobody gets it all. Nobody gets everything. Federer's as close to complete player we've seen, but there's certain things that he doesn't have he doesn't have too. So Rafa's presented with a volley. Actually, okay, the cousin is the backhand volley Andy Roddick missed in a Wimbledon final versus Federer. So Rafa has a forehand volley, which is he's trying to stick volley. He's trying to hit a firm, crisp volley, which most Nadal volleys don't go past the service line. Most of his volleys are kind of drop volleys, stop volleys. So here he tries to stick a volley like Patrick Rafter or Tim Henman, Stan Smith. Yeah, and he missed it. And because his technique not as good and he was nervous. Yeah, that was for a
mini break, and that was it. Wasn't it? No, it wasn't.
Novak was up 4-3 at that point, right, Gil? Novak was up 4-3.
Who was serving?
Yes.
Who was serving?
I don't remember who was serving, but it would have been 4-all if Rafa wins that. Instead, it was 5-3.
Got it.
That broke open the tiebreaker. But to get back to Novak and the forehand thing, we were talking recently about Novak's forehand and its whip quality, but probably more in the inside-out forehand because it's not as lethal as Rafa's inside-out forehand. But today, as you pointed out, Gil, is hitting the outside corner of the ball in the cross court was pretty impressive. You're right, and his ability, that takes some real quality execution against Nadal because you have a pretty narrow sliver to get into that backhand area, whether it's returns or forehands, because Nadal is, like we noted, looking to play forehands, right? I mean, what was your research, Amy? More than 80% of the time on that third shot, it's a forehand?
Yeah, I think Gil brought that up, that off of a graphic that we saw on Tennis Channel. But yes.
but so it's just fascinating, and it just showed you what he's worked on and what he needed to do, and it came back. Okay, yeah, the guy's backhand's not as good. It doesn't. What works on hard, and it's different than what Novak does on hard courts versus Rafa, because on hard courts he goes cross court backhand to the forehand, and forehand inside out. So fascinating patterns.
I just thought that Rafa's forehand had, especially in the closing arguments of the match, had a lot of vertical on it and very little horizontal. I mean, a lot of spin.
This gets into another thing. Sorry about that, Joel. Did you guys think that Nadal left some forehands down the line on the table, that he didn't go there when it was there? Because I felt, for me personally watching the match, I thought when he went down the line with his forehand, it was extremely effective at a very high rate. But at points in the match, it seemed to be a rarity that he would opt to attempt to hit it. And it's a shot that was so important for him to try to change the dynamic of their rallies, and to get him out of that kind of backhand to forehand with Novak's backhand kind of controlling the points.
Well,
go ahead, Joel.
So he Novak then he's moving and he's running to hit his forehand cross court. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think Nadal, it was incredibly impressive from Novak. I mean, right, like he said, one of his 3 best matches ever, and just Nadal and this situation and the clay and all that. And Nadal was a little perturbed at the lights being on at night. He was concerned about that. So maybe he wasn't quite feeling as assertive or confident.
Amy plays the violin.
Yeah, I'm playing the violin. Yeah. Okay. I think Rafa actually nailed it in the press conference, talking about Novak Djokovic's greatness. And he said, you can't make those mistakes against him.
That's right.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, look, no would be, I would confirm. Yes, Rafa, no.
And the other thing that was great about this, we had the crowd and the nearing curfew, and the government said, okay, you guys can stay. And I think that kind of added yet some more to it, and some more energy and some more intensity. It's like, oh, right. And I think, wow, how great that we can see this. We were getting live tennis back with fans and energy and crowds. And I wonder, when you contrast that, let's say, with last year's French, I think I'd have to say that helped Novak more as a source for some reason. Not that they're necessarily rooting for him or against him. I don't even know where all that was shaking out. Just the presence of all that and performing and bringing something, as opposed to that final last year, within about 20 minutes, started to feel pretty desolate for Novak. He probably felt pretty lonely in a way that he never had to in this match.
Yeah.
Kind of the crowd versus Berrettini. At the end of that Berrettini match, he kind of purged those demons. Like, okay, I gotta puke this out before I play Rafa.
Yeah. Man, I don't know how far ahead we can get with this in terms of big picture stuff. For me, I guess, is there any like Nadal in 2021, it's almost too soon for any of that, right? I mean, none of that speculation I'm not ready for that. But do either of you have any long-term takeaways from this match about what this might mean moving forward in the trajectories of the big picture of their careers? And the answer might be no.
I think with Novak, what we see again is this kind of tremendous efficiency of Novak. This has nothing to do with GOAT, but this has to do with accomplishments. And we've probably all been thinking for 5 years that Novak has sufficient amount of mileage, but not too much mileage on his car to keep him going for more majors to come. He's going to have more cracks at majors. And I think with the other two, we're going to feel the sigh with Rafa and the French. Oh, yeah, and his chances at the others, they're there technically, but they're not quite as much. Like we will with Roger. Like if Roger loses at Wimbledon, it'll be the same kind of thing. The circus is going to come back really for a year. With Novak, as this showed, as Australia showed. Because remember, this is a guy now who on Sunday could be halfway to a calendar slam.
That's going to be talked about. I know. And the news cycle isn't there yet, but it will be by tomorrow when people start talking about the final. Good point.
And Novak is the only of the three who really continue to exist in that conversation. Not even if, I know Federer's won his share of Australians and he might win Australia again, but Novak, it's just the nature of his game that he can be in significant contention for all four of them for some time in a way we don't quite think about the other two.
As soon as the match ended, I thought to myself, my first thought for Rafa, after I was like thinking how great Novak played, my thoughts turned to the loser, and I thought it would not surprise me if Rafa came back and won next year.
No, not at all.
No, but see again, so next year, it wasn't like the way like you would feel that if Novak lost, you'd say, yeah, Novak's got a good shot to win Wimbledon.
Yeah.
The next slam.
It's a great point. No, I think that's spot on.
Your long-term thing is that the sustained brilliance of Novak, this guy's got and by the way, let's just look at it. He's a year younger than Nadal, but he looked about 10 years younger in that fourth set.
Yes. And you guys talked about the news cycle on the calendar slam, which is starting to click in with people. The other one is hypothetically, I hate getting ahead of myself, but let's just play a few things out here. Let's say Novak wins the final. He's at 19. Then let's say he wins Wimbledon. He'll probably be the favorite there, right? Then they're all at 20 going into the US Open. I mean, crazy, right?
But Novak, if he's at 20 and he's at 3, then it's just tremendous and storyline thing, and Novak trying to come back to the US Open where he was defaulted last year. That's pretty amazing, and it's really exciting for the tennis to see these guys yet in the thick of it. But then also again the sense that for Novak, his fitness, his dedication. I mean, it's really I'm really happy to see that for him. I mean, we like all these guys, but to see Novak, it's kind of like, because in a way he's the Mr. Under the Radar guy. The other data points, and we can look ahead to the final, is if Novak wins, he's only the third player to win every major twice. So behind Rod Laver and Roy Emerson. So that's pretty
big deal.
Another
big deal. Yep, that's a good one, Joel. And yeah, I mean, just look, the way he took down Nadal, I think this time, as we started the show with, and I said I'm ready to call it the best performance ever on Chatrier. I just think it surpasses the 2016 victory and Soderling's victory, because I think it was a better version of Nadal that Novak just beat.
Oh no, I'll reinforce you with that. The 2016 version was it was a quarter, and then Novak didn't win the tournament, and there was Nadal had some injuries that year, no excuse as such, and even the 2009 Soderling, we're gonna look at that's an outlier result. You know what I mean? That's
and Nadal had injuries there as well.
That's true, but also the Soderling, that's like how life sometimes happens in the tennis fast lane.
Yes.
But
okay. Let's move on to the final. Let's do the final. Stefanos Tsitsipas defeated Alexander Zverev in 5 sets. Strange match, very human match. Like the Novak Rafa match was like, what planet are these guys from? The match before it was like, oh, these are Earthlings. They're really feeling the pressure out there.
That's a great way to put it. That's right. Tennis, a very human sport, from superhumans to, and great players nonetheless. Yeah, it started off. I covered it. It was like a tale of 3 different matches. First, it was the Stefanos show, then it was the Alexander show, and then it almost was. I mean, the big point, the big stage. Tsitsipas serving at first game, love 40, the 5th set, and he escapes, and there gets on his way.
Yeah, that was a good match in its own way. It's really interesting to me that it was a shorter match in duration, even though it was longer in sets. And I think that is just speaks to the quality of the Djokovic-Nadal match. But Tsitsipas is bona fide. I mean, he's a big star, and this should be an interesting match. I just wonder if Novak played his final in the semifinal, like he has before when he lost to Stan. I think he's got to be careful. He's got to be careful.
Well, with Novak in 2015, when he beat Rafa in the quarters, then he had a 2-day semi with Murray. He had a Friday, Saturday semi. So he had so he had to play semi that took 2 days, and then he had to play the final. And Stan kind of Soderlinged him in the finals. I mean, that was an unbelievable effort from Wawrinka that day. This one, it's interesting. Tsitsipas is a younger in his first Slam final, first player ever from Greece. He has a lot of ideas. I mean, his game. That's what's neat about his game. I think unlike Zverev doesn't have as many ideas. He executes well what he does, but Stefanos is, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I think we got to say this is probably one of those ones where the first set is extremely important for the underdog, because he needs to feel that he can let it fly and ask his questions. And I think Novak's going to be a little more okay for this than he was that time in 2015. Because even though he's had a late night, he's going to get some rest, and I think he's going to be okay physically. I don't mean he's going to win.
Yeah. I haven't seen a ton of Tsitsipas this tournament, I'll admit, because I've been watching R3. Has he been coming to the net more?
Well, good amount. A fair amount.
So that's a difference between him and Novak. Novak comes in when he's sure he can finish, typically, or when he's brought in. And Stefanos looks to come in more. So a little bit more aggressively. So that could be something to watch.
Well, they're very different styles. I mean, I think Tsitsipas is more of a he's a shot maker becoming a player. I don't think you ever want to be known as a shot maker. You want to be known as a consistent player. But he's looking to create. He wants to get to net. He wants to hit big serves. He wants to hit big forehands. He's not going to just want to hunker down and hit a lot of cross court and depth. And that's part of the reason why his match probably lasted shorter with Zverev too, because he's not going to just be that way. So it's going to be interesting to see how he hatches a plan. Last year they went 5 sets, but by the end he was gassed and got smoked in the 5th. So this one's going to be interesting. I think, though, a lot of it is Novak, I think, is going to feel pretty calm about it, having gotten through this Rafa test.
Yeah, it's a 5-2 head-to-head. Tsitsipas won 2 out of the first 3 matchups. They've met on clay a couple times recently, also this year in Barcelona, right? Barcelona?
It was Rome.
No, Rome. Sorry. And Tsitsipas served for the match in the second set, and Novak broke him, and then ultimately went on to win the match in 3. Fantastic match, very competitive, just like last year's RG semi. You know, I actually don't think that for what Novak's trying to do, I don't think it's that different than the Rafa matchup. It's just obviously you're dealing with a righty instead of a lefty. But if you're making Tsitsipas hit backhands and you're staying away from his big forehand, well, you have a great chance to win that match if you can do that consistently.
Yeah, but it is a righty, so it means Novak can hit his backhand cross court to a backhand.
Right.
Not the lethal qualities of Tsitsipas are different than Rafa. It's just a very different matchup.
Well, it's all different directionally, right? And like how the puzzle pieces fit together. But I think it's similar when it comes to, if you do a breakdown of like what's so dangerous about Stefanos Tsitsipas on a clay court, it's similar attributes when it comes to just, well, if the forehand is short in the court, you know, you're really in trouble against him in a big way. So I think there's going to be a lot on Novak's return. I think he's going to be trying to get it to the Stefanos Tsitsipas backhand. All right, we will, of course, have a episode of 3 ending our Roland Garros coverage, which has been so fun, going every single round and recapping and previewing, and it's just been a delight. And thank you for all of you guys who have, and I'm sure I'll thank you again next time, but who have stayed with us and watched us round by round. And what a treat we got today. Above all, the result and the accomplishment for Djokovic, just an incredible tennis match and just something to behold and appreciate. and a match that we won't soon forget. So that'll do it for this episode of 3. Make sure, or remember, we're available on all podcast platforms. Leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. Like and comment on YouTube. And we will see you next time on the next episode of 3.